This is an example of an assault rifle, a type of firearm that is capable of firing bullets in rapid succession automatically. So, how does this weapon achieve that? In this video, AutoExpose will explain how firearms work, specifically automatic rifles. Let's start with how bullets can be fired from within the rifle. Bullets can travel at high speeds because they possess a significant driving force. This force is generated from an explosion process. That is why it is called a firearm, because the process involves an explosion. It all starts with a bullet. If we take apart a bullet, it consists of two parts, the bullet and the cartridge case. The cartridge case is a tube-shaped component filled with gunpowder. At the back, there is an ignition mechanism. When this igniter is struck, it creates a spark inside. That spark ignites the gunpowder inside the cartridge case, causing it to burn all at once. Since it burns in a confined space, it generates explosive energy. If we place a bullet in front of it, the energy from the explosion will be directed forward, creating a propelling force. This force is what propels the bullet to travel at high speeds. So, in a single round, only the front part, the bullet, moves forward, while the cartridge case remains inside the rifle. Now, we understand that a bullet's propulsion is caused by the explosive force from the cartridge case. Next, we will discuss the mechanism of how bullets are fired repeatedly and automatically. This process occurs inside a firearm. I divide it into three mechanisms: the loading mechanism, the trigger mechanism, and the reset mechanism. The loading mechanism is used to load bullets from the magazine into the barrel. The barrel is the tube where the bullet travels. Before the bullet is fired, it is first placed inside the barrel. Here, we have a component called the bolt carrier. The bolt carrier can move forward and backward, while bullets are stored in the magazine, which is attached to the bottom of the rifle. When we push the bolt carrier from the rear to the front, it pushes a bullet from the magazine, aligning it perfectly in the center of the barrel. If you look closely, the bolt carrier has a locking mechanism. This mechanism holds the bolt carrier in place so that it does not get pushed backward during firing. So, to load a bullet, the bolt carrier moves forward, pushing a bullet from the magazine, and once it reaches the barrel, the bolt carrier rotates about 20 degrees, locking itself in place to prevent it from moving backward. The bolt carrier locking mechanism also occurs automatically. If you look closely, there is a protrusion, and on the outer part of the bolt carrier, there is a bolt carrier body. This body has a groove that acts as a guide. The protrusion fits into this groove. So, from this position, when we push the bolt carrier body backward, first, it rotates the bolt carrier, unlocking it. Then, the bolt carrier is pulled backward. Similarly, when pushed forward, first, it pushes the bolt carrier until it reaches the limit. If the body is pushed further, it rotates the bolt carrier, locking it in place. The next mechanism is the firing mechanism. Here, there are two components, the hammer and the trigger. When the trigger is pulled, the hammer is released and strikes the end of the bolt carrier. Inside, there is a firing pin, a long rod that, when struck, hits the primer on the bullet, causing it to fire. When the bullet explodes, the force propels it down the length of the barrel. At this point, there is a small gas port leading to the gas tube. When the propelling force reaches this port, gas enters and pushes the piston inside the gas tube. This piston is connected to the bolt carrier body, so this force pushes the bolt carrier body backward. As a result, the bolt carrier is pulled back, ejecting the spent cartridge case. Then, a return spring pushes the bolt carrier forward again, loading a new bullet from the magazine. When the bolt carrier moves backward, it also pushes the hammer back. The hammer is held in place by the disconnector, keeping it down even if the trigger is still pressed. When we release the trigger, the hammer moves and is caught by the trigger. This means that when we pull the trigger again, the firing process repeats. This is how semi-automatic firing works. So, how does full auto firing work? Behind the trigger mechanism, there is a selector switch. In this position, the weapon is in semi-automatic mode, as explained earlier. If we push the selector up, it holds the disconnector in place, preventing it from moving. This eliminates the hammer's locking mechanism, so when the bolt carrier finishes loading a new bullet, the hammer immediately strikes the firing pin. This process allows continuous, automatic firing. So, that is how automatic rifles function. Hopefully, this information adds to our knowledge.